Hello everybody, Waifu Belector here, the only fair human on earth. And today, I decided I've gotta talk about those Pokemon leaks. And I wasn't gonna talk about the Pokemon leaks. I was debating for a while, and you might be thinking, why? Why were you debating talking about the Pokemon leak? I'm a big Pokemon fan. I've been a fan of Pokemon my entire life, so why wouldn't I talk about the Pokemon leaks? Why was I thinking about skipping it? Well, to be honest, it's because most of it is kinda non-leaks, It's kinda not information. In the sense that a lot of it has to do with old games that have been out for years and years, decades at this point, and content that has to do with games that old doesn't really qualify as news all that much. And then other bits of news or leaks that came out of this are things that anybody with two brain cells to rub together could have concluded would be the likely outcome of their situations. So with all that not information, I was kind of like, is it even worth talking about? Everyone who's talking about it is kind of just blowing it out of proportion, pretending that it's big information just for like clicks and stuff like that. And I didn't really want to pretend that it was big information. However, within a lot of this not information and old information, it is still an interesting peek behind the curtain to a degree. So, that's fun. And then also there are a couple of bits that do feel like kind of real information that you might be able to glean something from, And then there's one especially really fun peek behind the curtain that really ultimately made me have to talk about this. So we'll get there. Remember to like the video if you end up enjoying and possibly even subscribe. But let's just get into this and let's start with the not information because that's the least interesting stuff. And so you can get a better sense of what I mean when I say not information. For one, we got a bunch of beta Pokemon. We got a bunch of beta versions of Gen 3, Gen 4, and Gen 5 Pokemon. So you can see what a lot of these Pokemon were meant to look like beforehand, before they got changed into their final version that we see in their games. I'm not going to be showing any of this stuff. I think the beta Pokemon might be safe to show, but I'm not going to be showing anything, honestly, just because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know the rules. I don't want the Nintendo SWAT team kicking down my door, rappelling from a helicopter down through my ceiling, and hitting me with the butt of their machine guns, or I don't know. I don't know what the Nintendo SWAT does. So whatever, you want to see these beta Pokemon, just Google it. They're everywhere. But yeah, a bunch of beta Pokemon, and it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Peek behind the curtain and stuff like that. But still, it's a bunch of unused versions of Pokemon that came out, or just unused Pokemon altogether. And yes, that's interesting. It's not really information. Does it tell us when the new Pokemon game is coming out? Does it tell us what Game Freak is planning for the future? No, none of that. So, it's not information, but it's something. So, but then after all those beta Pokemon, we have, and this is such not information, the Switch 2 code name. And people are like, oh, we got the Switch 2 code name. We know what they call it internally. Like, what? Who cares? Who fucking cares? It doesn't help you. It doesn't help us get anything. It doesn't give us any information. Why do we care what the code name is? It doesn't matter. The code name on purpose doesn't tell you what the actual name of the console is. So we don't even know that based on the code name. Why would knowing the code name matter? It's like, this is what I mean by like people were blowing this out of proportion and pretending everything that came out of this was like real information that you were really getting something deep from, and you're really not for the most part. But whatever. Beta Pokemon, Switch 2 code name. And then we also learned that Pokemon Legends ZA will be on the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 or Super Nintendo Switch or whatever, as well as the original Switch. And again, this is the just rub two brain cells together and you can figure it out. Of course, ZA is coming out for the new console. Their release windows just overlap too much. Clearly it's going to be there. And anybody who isn't stupid knows that Nintendo is not going to abandon the Nintendo Switch outright when it comes out. Too many people have a Nintendo Switch. They're not just going to abandon that console. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, ZA will be on both the Switch 2 and the Switch. But like, we knew that. No? Did we not know? Whatever. There's also the super night information of Pokemon Generation 10 is being worked on. Like, dude, No fucking shit. Gen 10's being worked on? No, duh. The most profitable franchise in human history is gonna continue? What? like yes, man, what are we talking about? Of course Gen 10 is being worked on. That's like telling me that people are gonna wake up tomorrow and expecting me to be surprised. Yeah, super not information. And then also there was like the old game source code. I think it might have been for like Pokemon Emerald or something. One of these old games had the whole source code leaked, which for normal people means nothing, but if you're somebody who likes to ROM hack and all that kind of stuff, then this is like invaluable information. So good for them. Most of us are normal and it doesn't matter to us. So there's that. But anyway, all that not information, all that stuff that I'm supposed to be excited about that's really nothing. Here's a little bit of something that kind of feels like you can make some assumptions based on it. Still, it's kind of not information, but it's a little bit of information maybe, and you can kind of do something with it. So we learned that Pokemon Legends ZA was meant to release this year in 2024. Clearly that didn't happen and isn't going to happen, and when the game got announced, it had no date, it had nothing. And along with that, we also learned that possibly Pokemon ZA has been pretty much done, or mostly all the way done, for a good long while now. So if it's been basically all the way done for a while, and it was supposed to come out this year but didn't, we can probably assume that they held it back on purpose to release with the Nintendo Switch 2. So Pokemon Legends ZA in all likelihood is probably gonna be a launch game for the Super Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever the fuck. They've probably been holding the game back specifically for that reason. So, there's some kind of information you can glean from that, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Like I said, all of this is mostly kind of not information. It's just sort of something to look at. It's an interesting peek behind the curtain. You get to see these beta versions and kind of what goes through the Pokemon devs' heads and stuff like that and all that kind of thing. You get to kind of see the inner workings of how Nintendo go about their business a little bit, a peek into that world. But that's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy, right? This isn't the Insomniac leak. We didn't find out all the games that they're gonna be doing up until 2035 or anything like that. But whatever. Ultimately, as unsubstantial as a lot of this information may be, there was still the extra funny bit that really got me, that really brought me here, that I felt like I had to talk about. Within this leak, there are like these internal lore stories that the Pokemon devs are writing. It is like internal lore mythos stories that they are writing. It's not the real lore, mind you, right? This is not like real official Pokemon lore or anything like that, but internally they seem to have like their own mythos and lore that they pass around or they share with each other for God knows why. I cannot fathom why this stuff exists. So let me tell you kind of what's in these stories. I'm not going to read the stories directly because they are written like in a borderline incomprehensible way. Like the structuring of sentences and all that kind of shit, and like the flow of the story is nonsensical. Like it's written like a third grader wrote it. But that may be due to translations or something, I'm not sure. Also, I'm not even sure that this is real. I feel like somebody might have added these crazy ass stories, and once I say them, you're gonna understand how crazy they are. But I feel like somebody might have added, whoever did this big leak or whatever, whoever hacked into Pokemon and Nintendo and all and Game Freak and all that shit, they might have added their own fucked up stories to these files because everything else is so legit. We would just assume that this is legit too, but that might be a stretch. This is probably just real, honestly, because these stories are really wild. And the big takeaway, the big takeaway from all these stories is that there is a lot of relations, sex between Pokemon and people. Which is just hilarious, which is great. I love it. I'm here for it. I said it, I'm here for it. Yeah, man, there is Pokemon and people. They're getting down. They're making other Pokemon. All kinds of shit. It's honestly amazing. And this is why you've probably seen the Typhlosion memes, right? There is a really weird, fucked up story where a Typhlosion seemingly kidnaps a girl and, keeps her against her will. it maybe erases her memory or some shit like that. I don't know. The way the stories are told are weird, but like he's erasing her memory. He's keeping her kind of against her will, and they're banging, bro. And it's like, what the fuck? And they end up making other Typhlosions or something like that. And so it kind of turns out that the true origin of Typhlosion is that it is a half human Pokemon hybrid, and that is how all the Typhlosions were made. It's like, what the fuck, bro? Like, what? Why would the Pokemon devs need to write this? I don't understand why this was written. Do we just like give it to each other and we're like, yeah, this is the vibe? Like, I don't understand, because that's not the vibe. When you play Pokemon, that's not the vibe. So I don't understand. Like, are you trying to show me how to cultivate the vibe? It can't be. I don't understand what the point of this was. Maybe it's just fun. They just have an internal storytelling thing where they have their own made up mythos, where they have their own dev mythos that is different from the real Pokemon lore. I have no idea, but this is what's happening. Like one of the stories is like, and I might as well be quoting here because this is kind of how it says it. It's like, there was a man walking along the coast. He saw an octillery washed up. The man had relations with the octillery and then cast it back out to sea. The next day, he went to the coast and he saw the octillery again. He had relations with it the same way and cast it back out to the sea. And it says it like a third time to like really like get it down. And it's like, yeah, he's banging this octillery. And you're like, what are we talking about? And it's like one night he had a dream and the octillery came to him in his dream and told him, I won't be on the coast for you to fuck next time, but I'll deliver unto you a child, our Pokemon person child or whatever. And the guy goes to the coast and there's the baby octillery and he raises it and it's his kid. And it's like, what are we talking about? This is hilarious. There's also one where like a woman and her friends are torturing Slackoths, and they kill and torture Slackoths and Vigoroths, and eventually the mean woman gets caught by a Slacking who she formerly tortured, probably when it was a Slackoth. So then she's like captured by the Slacking. She tries to escape, but the Slacking captures her again and she passes out. But when she wakes up, she's just back with her friends and whatnot. But turns out she's pregnant. What? And when she gives birth, it's a Slackoth. So what is the implication there? What is the implication is that Slackoth, or Slacking rather, took some fucking street justice to a new fucking level. Oh, holy shit, this is next level, right? But yeah, it's like Greek mythology kind of bullshit, but like in Pokemon, it's really fucked. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of here for it. It's just so fucked up and weird. I mean, there's another story where like a man cuts an Ursaring's face off or some shit like that with a sword, and then they both like choke each other to death. I don't even know, dude. There's just mad crazy shit happening. And then that fucked up Octillery story, there's that exact same story, but replace Octillery with Lapras. And it's like, it's so weird. So it's just like, I don't know what the purpose is. I wish I knew what the reasoning behind these little tales were. So like, yeah, there's a certain amount of Pokemon that are like being memed because internally at Game Freak, they fuck people. So these Pokemon fuck people. You know, you got Typhlosion, Slacking, Lapras, Octillery. I'm forgetting some, but you know, that's on top of the original classic meme of like Vaporeon and stuff. Whatever. To be honest, are we really surprised that the Pokemon devs are on this type of time? Is it really that shocking, honestly? Because this is still the same people, the same dev team that made an official Pokemon that really got put out there. This Pokemon exists in full. They made Lopunny. What? Like, that is a horny ass, crazy Pokemon design. That is crazy. That was a wild one. And they just put it out. They were serious. They couldn't even help themselves. So I'm not too surprised that this is what they're on. Now it has me thinking, when people make like Pokemon hentai and Pokephilia porn and all that type of shit, the devs are probably proud of you. They probably like it. So shout out them. I like that they like that, because, you know, at the end of all my videos, you know, I let you guys know I like hentai. I'm into it. You know, it's just a part of me, and it's cool. I'm glad the Pokemon devs are similarly cool. But yeah, there's also like internal references and descriptions for Pokemon characters, like the human characters and gym leaders and stuff. The one that's taking people by storm is Skyla, because Skyla's reference is immediately described as sexy pilot on the internal documents. So yeah, the Pokemon devs know what they're doing when they do this stuff. They called her sexy pilot. She was meant to be a sexy pilot. It also said ethnically she's Latina, and they used Jennifer Lopez among other people for reference. So that's just been taking people by storm. Sexy Latina pilot. It's funny. But yeah, we see what type of timing the Pokemon Game Freak devs are on. We see what they're up to now. I love it. I love that we see them for their true selves. And, you know, I still accept them for one, you know? I'm not turning against them. I fuck with it. And you know what? I'm putting Typhlosion on my next Pokemon team. I'm putting Slacking on my I think I have a shiny Octillery somewhere, so, you know, I'll slap him on the team. It's funny, my shiny Octillery's name is Octopussy. I named him that because of the James Bond movie, but now it's worse. But yeah, I guess this is all I wanted to talk about. A bunch of not information and then a bunch of fun not information, I guess. It's all just a good time, I guess, man. This leak had like a terabyte of content, so I don't know if people are still sifting through it or what, but, you know, we've got some crazy shit. We've got some crazy shit here. I absolutely love it. Can't wait for Pokemon ZA. Can't wait for Gen 10 and the horniest Pokemon in Gen 10, so that we can all know that Game Freak did it on purpose. Anyway, drop a like on the video if you did in fact like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. You know, I need those subscribers, baby. And until next time, I am Waifu Belector. I'm just a normal guy. I like hentai, and I like Pokemon hentai specifically. Goodbye.